What's going on, everybody? My name is Justin Godsey for the Justin Godsey Podcast. Thank you so much for checking out tonight's video. A blockbuster trade has been set down on the table. It's been agreed upon between the Chicago Cubs and the Oakland Athletics. Now, this is a deal that's going to be finally going to be involving Jeff Samardzija. Jeff Samardzija has been traded to the Oakland Athletics along with Jason Hammel for shortstop Addison Russell. Yes, this is a very interesting trade here. This is more gain for the Oakland Athletics, more than what it is coming over from the Chicago Cubs. Now, Theo Epstein, who came over in the Chicago Cubs a couple of years ago, a lot of people were expecting a lot of great things as the new general manager for the Chicago Cubs. You know, he's had some great years with the Boston Red Sox, winning a multiple world champions, coming over to the Chicago Cubs, a team that has not made the playoffs in I don't know how long, since, 1912, back in the very early 1900s. And this team has been really trying to make, amends. We're trying to, get a new team together. And a lot of people are like, they're going to do it with Jeff Samardzija, leading the way for their pitching. Along with their hitting, you do have, at the time, it was very, very good. They got Anthony Rizzo from the Padres. That's going to be their future right there. And then we also have Junior Lake out in the outfield, Justin Ruggiano, and you also got Nate Shearholtz. It's not the, 100% greatest team in baseball, but you know what? They're building up for something big. But you know what? When you go into, when you have a world champion team, you have to have a good pitching rotation. And Jeff Samardzija, who I would have to say was kind of overrated. A lot of people are overrating Jeff Samardzija as the next best thing. A former Notre Dame quarterback turned pitcher in baseball. He was, at once, the third person in the rotation for the Cubs until, the team started, picking pieces apart, trading him away, making some silly moves. Jeff Samardzija landed in at number one. And as time overwent, the team, like I said, has also been making some small moves, trying to bring in some, mid-level, free agents to this team to try and build for something. That's what led to Edwin Jackson coming over. They also got Jake Arrieta from the Baltimore Orioles. So, they were leading into, something building for the future. It's going to take a few years for this team to actually land something solid. But you know what? They really found in Jeff Samardzija, but the team said, we can build big on, if we were to trade Jeff Samardzija for a handful of prospects. But today, guys, they got one prospect in, for the future, and that is Addison Russell. When you really look at it, the entire infield for the Chicago Cubs, it's very clustered. At shortstop, you have Starlin Castro. Yes, Starlin Castro, who's a very young prospect. He signed a few years ago. Then you have Darwin Barney, who came out of nowhere for the team last year or a couple of years ago. Yeah, Luis Valbuena over at third, he's pretty good. He's a great defensive third baseman. I'm okay with Luis Valbuena for the time being. And then, like I said, over at first base, you got Anthony Rizzo, who's going to lead that team, into future endeavors going down the line. And, what is your plans with Addison Russell? Addison Russell is he's a by heart shortstop. I don't think he can even play. He can play second base, but by heart he is a shortstop. This year he's been doing pretty solid for Double-A Midland. He can probably end up going down to the Iowa Cubs. That's where he could be starting. He's batting .333, a very solid season as the season has just started for the Midland Rockhounds down at Double-A. He has 1 home run, 8 RBIs on the year, and 3 stolen bases. I think that's an excellent prospect. By means, Addison Russell's a fantastic, shortstop. I would take him. He's one of the top prospects by Baseball America. I think he's in the top 10, actually, because his defensive ability is just out of this world, and it's just overall very fantastic. So Addison Reed's coming over to the Chicago Cubs, and what the Oakland Athletics are receiving is Jeff Samardzija. I really like this addition to the Oakland Athletics because not only are they getting Jeff Samardzija, they are also acquiring Jason Hammel. But when you really look at it, the Chicago Cubs, they know they're not going anywhere this year, and this is going to be a year where they can start now, building for, bringing up some prospects from AAA. I can't really name and put, the pen to the paper on who they're going to end up bringing up, but you know what? You're going to be without Jeff Samardzija, you're going to be without Jason Hammel, so when you really look at it, you can really start bringing up guys, Jake Arrieta could be your number 1, Edwin Jackson could be your number 2, Travis Wood could be your number 3, Carlos Villanueva, he could be into the pitching rotation as a number 4, and then if you want to, you can end up putting guys, take a shot here. Put James Russell in as a possibility. You can also start bringing in guys, probably like Neil Ramirez. There's a bunch of things going on, but you got to fill these last two spots in rotation. And I would think it got like guys, like Carlos Villanueva could come in here, and he's a former starter. He used to pitch up there in Toronto. He is a former starter. He pitched in Toronto, came over to the Chicago Cubs. He bounced around from team to team, and also for the Milwaukee Brewers. So he has had that pitching rotation experience. So that could be the likeliest scenario. Then just filling out that last one will be to be determined for the most part. Now, as we're going over the Chicago Cubs, how do you fit Jeff Samardzija and Jason Hammel into your pitching rotation? Now, this has been a very solid year overall for the Oakland Athletics. They did take a whole lot of punches to the gut when it comes to their pitching rotation. They now have Sonny Gray, who is having a fantastic year. You also got Scott Kazmir, who has completely came down to earth, and he is now performing up to the high stakes as he once was back in Tampa Bay in his early days, where he was just dominating the game when it was with the Tampa Bay Rays. You also have Jesse Chavez, Tommy Malone, and then you also got Brad Mills, who they just recently acquired. I would say that Brad Mills is a guy who's he's going to be likely out of this pitching rotation and going to end up being placed either in the bullpen or down to AAA, and then you're going to end up putting Jeff Samardzija right up there. When it really comes down to it, I would feel that if Jeff Samardzija could be that number 3, because when you really look at it, I think Scott Kazmir has already named himself as to be inked in at number 2. It's kind of silly for a guy who has really turned things around in his career with the Oakland Athletics. He had a big run in with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, had a complete couple of down years with them, and then he ends up spending a year in the Independent Baseball League, coming back into the MLB with the Oakland Athletics. With the run support around him, he has turned into a much better pitcher, and taking a year off from baseball was the right thing for him to do. So I think when you come to his current stature and the current the current time right now, I think Jeff Samardzija could possibly be filled in at number 3. And then Jason Hammel's a really interesting kind of a cause here, because you're going to end up taking out either Jesse Chavez, who is a natural bullpen pitcher. You can possibly end up taking him out. I mean, he's a fantastic pitcher. Like I said, he's in the bullpen. He can also be placed in the rotation. He can be a guy that can start for emergency starts. So that could be a possibility of bringing him into the bullpen and have him work out of the bullpen now that you have Jason Hammel. Now, Jason Hammel he's having a great season. He's having a great season, but the consistency is my biggest question here. This season he has already have 108 innings in. He's 8-5 with a 2.98 ERA. Very solid year. I think he's going to be already inked in to become probably a number 3 or a number 4. Tommy Malone has had a couple of bumps in the road this year. I think he's going to be a complete safe here in the rotation. I'll be really surprised if the team decides to either put him into the bullpen, which I do not think so. I think Tommy Malone will be really upset. I think the most likely guy to be taken out of the rotation will be Brad Mills and also Jesse Chavez. So, Jeff Samardzija, Jason Hammel is now a member of the Oakland Athletics, as Addison Russell, a top 10 prospect in Major League Baseball, has been traded to the Chicago Cubs in a very clustered infield for the Chicago Cubs, which features Darwin Barney at second and also Starlin Castro at shortstop. Let me hear your guys' opinion about this. I'm Justin Godsey for the Justin Godsey Podcast. Leave your thoughts down below. Leave your comments down below. Subscribe down below. And I'll catch you guys in my next video.